There are so many myths about raising bilingual kids, like the idea that it causes confusion or delays. But today's guest, Diandra Morse, is here to set the record straight. A licensed clinical social worker and founder of Bilingual Playdate, Diandra is helping Hispanic parents preserve their heritage language through confidence and community. Hey, hey.
Hi.
Oh my God, I can't say hey, hey anymore.
Why?
I'm watching this series on Netflix called Signals or something like that. And the lady is like super psycho and she's like, hey, hey.
Oh,
Hey,
okay.
hey. And I'm like, and I just came out and I'm like, am I crazy like her? Anyway, hi.
This is
hey,
a hot
hey.
topic for me. Hot topic for
Pamela
me.
loves this topic, you guys. I'm in a terrible place with this topic because I already said it in a previous episode, but the last time I was trying to speak Spanish with Victoria, she goes, Mami, es que tu español no es bueno. And I was like, okay, great. But anyway, you want to jump into our motherish moments?
Sure. So last weekend I took Ford on a little staycation. We go to this resort about an hour away from Miami that I absolutely love. And they have so many kids activities. And it's a great family spot. And we had a great time. And the whole family was there. And it was fun. But I realized that he's still in that age where he has like no sense of like being alone, of like walking away, of being abducted, of like, you know, he has like...
Is there a Latina mom here?
Exactly.
Is there a Latina mom somewhere?
I'm trying to like instill in him like a little bit of a fear of like all those like daytime, you know, I work in the news. So like I'm obviously exposed to a lot of like crazy, like really scary stuff. And I kind of, obviously I don't want him to be a fearful person or a child, but I feel like it's a little healthy to have a little bit of that. And then randomly someone shared a reel of like clippings of Primer Impacto, which is where I work, and how our mothers and our grandparents have this like paranoia because of all the news that we share with them. Have you seen that one?
No, but I get it. I don't even have to see it because I was raised on that. I know.
Who plays the grandma?
Yeah. Oh, Jenny Lorenzo.
Yes.
My girl.
And it's like, you know, every clipping is like, you know, I don't know, it was like una persona y el tiburón se lo comió, and it was like, oh my God. And like,
Vino el extraterrestre.
yeah, it was like el chupacabras and all that stuff. But
that's
like,
real. Chupacabra is real. I asked ChatGPT about it.
So I like explained to Ford, like, listen, what if someone bad comes, right?
Oh my God.
And they like grab you and they take you away, and like, what are you gonna do? You have to scream help. He's like, I'm gonna be like, hey, listen to me. I'm gonna kick you. I'm like, no, you're not. You're not.
You're not gonna outdo
exactly.
Yeah.
You're not engaging. So. Anyhow, so during this resort, which is pretty big, you know, it's like one of those like overwhelmingly like the lazy river, like the pool and the slides and like everything kind of connects, but then you can't really see the other side. It was like a little bit of like my biggest nightmare, like in one spot in that sense, because Ford literally gets up and just like walks away, leaves, like jumps in the river, and then he's like, hey, see you on the other side. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna see you on the other side. Like, stop, you're 5. Don't do that, you know? So it was a little bit of like a wake up call in terms of like, okay, what I need to do a better job at teaching him that he can just walk away, he can like do stuff on his own. He can be like, hey, chill, I'm going with my friends. He's like, I'm going with my friend. I'm like, what friend?
You don't have a friend here.
Well, no, he had a friend actually.
Bueno.
And they're both 5, but just like, no, you're not going with another 5-year-old to like the other side of the pool. Like, it's not happening. Especially with like a Latina mom. Like, you know, no, it's not happening. We're not doing that. No. He's like, I'm gonna go to the beach. I'm like, what? No, you're not going near the ocean. Anyway, so I'm like, you know, in that season where like he's so independent and he's so like a big boy, but at the same time, like, I don't want him to like think he's such a big boy that he could be on his own.
Yeah,
so I'm struggling with that.
The balance.
The balance. And then at some point, like, I know this is traumatizing. Like, should I stage like a fake little, like,
no. Serious?
abduction for him to be like, hey,
are you serious?
I don't know what to do. I won't.
Are you serious?
But I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I'm being honest. I
appreciate your honesty.
I contemplated it for like 2 seconds.
It's really crazy.
I know, but like, how else do you create that fear? Like, what age do they become aware that like, oh, my mom is like not here?
Okay, wait,
Where is
hold
she?
on. We're, not to go off topic so much, but like, how do you know how the fear was generated in you? I know how it was generated in me. Like, I have very clear memory of at what point I was like, oh my God, I could get kidnapped and die. Like, I know exactly when it happened. That's why I'm like,
What age? How old are you?
I was probably 6. And it was the Jimmy Rice case that happened like in our vicinity.
Yeah, it was
And
like
I
a
was like,
Sears or something.
yeah. And we used to go to that place. And so I was like, this is where I die. Like, it's going to happen here. Like, crazy.
Or things
That's
he could
called
beat up
trauma.
yeah, I know.
I don't think you want to do that.
I know. But I don't want to also think that he could be on his own and, you know, I don't know.
I mean, I get it. But I also like, it's like that fine balance between like his, like you want to empower his independence.
No, I do.
But in a safe way.
Exactly.
I get it. I don't think staging a kidnapping is the right path.
So
but maybe we could find
I'm open to suggestions.
Yeah,
by
thank
the way.
you. That's perfect. Like any suggestions you guys have would
Healthy,
be super great.
like not
Healthy.
traumatizing.
Yeah, like or if you want to participate in the staging of the kidnapping, we'll also take that too.
We have a dark van I could borrow.
I know someone. Okay, so my motherish moment is that literally in the final minute, I was able to volunteer for the absolute last event at school, at Victoria's school, because I haven't been able to
Wow.
volunteer for anything because it's like never available. They're like, oh, because there's a wait list. Oh, because and I'm like, well, I'm sorry. Like, who's on this wait list?
By the way,
people
as
that
a-
have
as a-
already.
as a room mom,
That's right.
just throw
Here
it
we
out
go.
there.
Here we go.
It's the responsibility of the room on to kind of find a good balance and make sure that everyone gets a chance to do something.
Yes, and I begged. I had to pay for an expedited background check
To be able to go,
to
on
be
a
able
kind of
to
field
go and do the thing, whatever. It wasn't a field trip. It ended up being like a summer day. But anyway, I don't even care about the event itself. The best part of it was that I was able to tell Victoria, I told her the day before, I go, Mommy, guess what? I go, tomorrow Mama's going to go to your summer fun day and I'm going to volunteer and I'm going to be there. And she was so happy.
Oh, they love
like,
it. They
she was like,
love
I
it when
can't
you
wait
go."
until it's tomorrow because finally one of my parents is going to be there and blah, blah, blah. She was so happy. I didn't realize, like I knew it was a big deal for her because she mentioned it a few times, but it was a tremendous deal.
Yeah.
So much that she woke up, she didn't go to sleep until 10:30 at night. And then, because she was so excited, I can't wait until tomorrow. Then she woke up at 6:15 on her own in the morning. And she rolls over and she goes, Mommy, I love you so much. And I'm so happy that you're coming to school with me today. I could cry because I'm so happy. And I was like, okay, this is like a lot. Like,
It's so sweet.
kind of crazy.
I know. They love it. They love it when you do school stuff.
But it was so nice. And I was so happy to be there. And then I had to socialize with other moms and stuff. It was
A lot of
a
small
good
talk,
exercise for
yeah.
me. Yeah, it was good. No, it was good. I felt bad because I'm kind of like, in a way, I was like, oh, yeah, nice to meet you, whatever. And then I'm also kind of like, it's the end of the school year, guys. We don't even know if we're going to be in the same class next year.
Wow,
Like,
wow. Like, you don't know if it's worth your investing your time.
ay, que me sale la antipática. And I'm just
Yeah.
kind of like, oh, this is so much. No, but it was good. I was really happy that I went. Victoria was super happy. But then she was pissed because she's like, you're not taking me out early today? Like,
I know, that's the one
and
thing.
I was
The
like,
goodbye
what?
is always the
I'm like,
transition
no,
is always
yeah,
tough. Yes.
She was so upset, and I was like, no, girl, I took the day off from work. I'm gonna have some
here.
me time.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. But it was great. It was awesome, and she was super happy. And I finally, I did it.
I love it. We have a guest today, so why don't we have Diandra share her motherish moment of the week?
Okay. Okay, my motherish moment is so this year I have a kindergarten student and it's now towards the end of the year. And one of the things that I wanted to do, kind of because of bilingual play day, but because of my kid, our school is actually there's no Latinos in our school, so it's like monolingual English town everywhere we go. But one of the things I did was join the PTO, and my motherish moment is that I was able to start a Spanish club for after school for all the kids in the school, and so many kids were so interested in the club, and they actually let my kids join the club as well, so they were able to kind of show their friends how they speak Spanish, and all their friends were so shocked that they speak Spanish. They were like, "Oh, wait, how do they know Spanish so fluently? Like, I don't understand." And I was like, "Oh, well, I only speak Spanish to them since they were a baby." And we actually got to meet at the library, and then I had never thought about this. So he gets to bring books once a week from the library. at our school, and he was like, "Oh, I there are no books in Spanish at our library." And I was just like, "Oh, that's weird. Why?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know." And so I asked the librarian in front of him, like, "Oh, would it be okay if I donated books to the library, or do you need like support in that?" And she was just like, "Yeah, that actually would be great." So, and my kid was just so excited to the potential of being able to check out books next year. And so that's my motherish moments, like some or motherish, yeah, moment that um you never realize what is possible until you actually ask for it. And sometimes when you are like in the school, you get to realize the things that other kids have that your kid doesn't have access to. So, but he was so excited. He told everyone, "My mom's going to get books in the library that are in Spanish for me so I can check them out." And I thought that was just the cutest thing. So that's my
That's
moment.
awesome.
I
That's
love
awesome.
that. Yesterday, I took one of my best friends lives in Arizona, in Flagstaff, Arizona, to be exact. And she wanted Cuban breakfast, so I told her to come over, um, to meet me for breakfast at a Cuban restaurant with her two children, her stepdaughter, and her husband. And it was so cute because her stepdaughter, who's like from an American mom, and they have a blended family, was ordering like like the reels where they're like, "Excuse me, can I have two croquetas, por favor?" And she's 8. She was so cute. And then they'll be like, "Okay," and they're like, "Oh, okay." And they gave her the croqueta, and she'd be like, "Gracias, muchas gracias." Like she was like emphasizing like the few Spanish, like few little words that she knew. But it was like so cute to see like her put effort into
Mhm.
communicating
Yeah, yeah,
in the
yeah.
language.
Yeah, yeah,
And I love
Yeah.
that they think Miami's like the place to speak. Like,
For some reason in my head, all I can think about is like, your name is Luna, not Moon.
Aquí se habla español.
Aquí se habla español.
That's my house every day. Okay, so let me introduce Diandra Morse. She's a Dominican American raised in both the Dominican Republic and New York City. Diandra has over 10 years of experience as a licensed clinical social worker and child advocate. Additionally, she's the owner of Bilingual Playdate, a community and advocacy movement that focuses on advocating for being bilingual by dismantling myths about bilingual children, drawing attention to discriminatory and linguistically oppressive past and present practices in the U.S., and connecting parents to bilingual parenting community and support. This is big because I think we take for granted. So Karen and I live in Miami. Miami.
Through a fight. Through a
Yeah.
fight till I die.
Cue the rumba music. and
The maracas.
The maracas.
No, come
So
on.
I
We've
think-
evolved from that. No.
No, I don't know. You know what? I don't know. I don't think so.
Now it's
but
maracas with the.
yeah, but I do think we're very privileged and blessed to be surrounded with so much diversity and so much of our culture so present and so accepted, right? Because it's not even like a feature that is like looked down upon. I actually think it's like the cool thing to be like Latino and I know that a lot of people that are not within a city that has so much diversity, they're not exposed to that. And they're not accepted, and like Diandra, and like maybe she could share a little bit more about like how different it could be for other communities and other children who are trying to maintain the culture and trying to maintain the language, but they face all these different obstacles.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in the Dominican Republic and in New York City. So to me, this was like the norm, like similar to Miami, like, Latinos everywhere in New York City. And obviously in DR. But then when I moved to upstate New York, it really hit me. I'm like, oh, I'm the only Latina here. I'm the Dominican here.
Where are
I'm
you
diversity.
right now exactly?
Central Square, New York.
Okay.
Yep. So near Syracuse. And so I realized that I was the only one, and it didn't bother me as much because I would travel to New York City. It's only like 4.5, 5 hours away. So I would travel to New York City regularly to see my family. It didn't bother me so much until I had children. And then I was like, wait, they're not going to know like how Latinos roll. They're not going to know my culture. They're missing out. I need to do something about it. And so that's kind of where like bilingual played it. That idea popped into my head because I was like, oh, I'm curious who else is in my situation and who else and what are they doing? Because my friends who are in New York City are not having the same challenges and struggles because it's built in, and same thing in Miami, it's built in. My friends in DR are not having the issues. It's already built in. But my husband is white. And, so we're a bilingual, bicultural, and biracial home. And there's a lot of dynamics and things that are different. And so that's kind of what prompted me to
So what
start.
does like bilingual play date look like? Is it like a resource center? Is it like organizing groups? Is it like providing information? Like what does the format look like right now?
Oh my, it's so many things. So I do online educational workshops for universities and colleges. I've spoken to a few social work programs about just like the needs of bilingual children because believe it or not, it's not taught in school. And so a lot of times our Latino students really are not given the right supports that they need. A lot of times, if you come in speaking Spanish, it's seen as like, oh, wait, they don't speak English. Oh, do they need, do they need additional supports? And it might just be like they just need exposure. Maybe their family is of two families that, or the whole family just speaks Spanish at home. It doesn't mean something bad, right? It also looks like in-person meetups. So I do have a group of other families that are similar to mine that are trying to uphold we speak Spanish, and so we get together because the best way to maintain bilingualism is for your child to have a peer to also be able to speak Spanish with. And so I organize that. I also facilitate story time at two libraries here, and I do advocacy all around in my community and in Syracuse.
I never thought about that, about a peer to speak Spanish with. Like, does Ford have another child that he would have to speak Spanish with?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, in his classroom, there's two children who are very fluent in Spanish. Actually, mainly, I will say predominantly Spanish speaking in his class. And again, he could engage with them and plays with them, and like just the same way that he engages with me, where we only speak to him in Spanish, but then he only answers in English. So that's where my struggle is.
How do you manage the dynamic at home? Like, well, I'm assuming, right? Your husband only speaks English and you only speak Spanish to the kids? Or how is
No,
it?
so my husband, when our first was born, I was like, okay, so let me just tell you that I will never speak English to him. And I don't know
You
what that
told him
means
after
for
the
you.
fact. You're like,
I'm like,
baby's
after the
here,
fact,
surprise.
because I didn't think about it. Like, that's the craziest part. Like, because in my brain it was so built in for me as a child, it never occurred to me that, like, wait, I just married a white person, a white American person. This is going to look different than like my two Dominican parents. And he has some basic Spanish, but like, how are we going to do this? So I was like, okay, just so you know, there's going to be merengue, there's going to be salsa in this house, there's going to be all these things. And I'm speaking Spanish only. And so then I got rid of all my baby shower books that were in English because again, I was not even thinking about that. And I bought all Spanish, like books in Spanish for the baby. And then Brandon, my husband, basically like taught himself by reading the books to our kid every night. And then he would just repeat what I said. So for the first 4 years of our oldest, he's 6 now. For the first 4 years, their whole relationship was in Spanish only.
Wow.
And so we only were a Spanish speaking household. And then when AJ started school, like preschool, then Brandon and him started speaking a little bit more English. But it was like I was like uncomfy for my in-laws a little bit because like they would speak in English to him and he would respond in Spanish. So the opposite of your son.
Okay, so maybe I should just blame Ford's staff or not.
No.
So Ford's dad's Canadian. He's a white Canadian.
You're like, you didn't learn
And actually,
Spanish.
no, he took Spanish for so many years, and I think he just became so subconscious when he was around a Spanish-speaking family, that he was like, you know what, I'll just do English with Ford, you'll do Spanish, and then like that he could. So I was like, okay, and many professionals advise to have one parent, one language. So like he will do English and I will do Spanish, but he's still speaking English. Oh, and the other day he's like, so he's into like asking people's their age instead of like their name. Like he'll meet someone and be like, hey, so how old are you? Which is kind of cute when you're 5 or 4, but like a lot of older people get very like, oh, okay, I don't know. I'm like, he's 5, who cares? Like,
Yeah.
So like to be funny, he'll ask me all the time, like super loud in front of people. Oh, so how old are you, Mom? And I'm like, 43. And he's like, in English, please, say it in English. And I'm like, you know what it is. Like, I'm not gonna, but it's just like, it's been a little frustrating for me too. I think now at this age, maybe this summer, I don't know if I told you, I'm considering doing like a full-on Spanish camp, only Spanish, for 2 weeks, just to see if that maybe forces him to like try to speak it.
That's cool. That's very cool.
You know, even though he's like, I told you, like when they're like, oh, Ford, because, you know, obviously like in school, like I'm always like talking to him in Spanish. And the other day, one of the parents was like, oh my God, Ford, ¿tú hablas español? And she goes, sí, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
He's like, yo.
I'm like, Ford. And then he heard another parent speaking French, and he was like, oh, French, bonjour.
Jesus.
And then I realized he watches this cartoon called Super Wings. So Super Wings travels to different parts of the world, and they always like incorporate 1 or 2 words from that part of for that country. But for me, culture is very present. So he knows he's from Peru. He loves the food. He loves there's a lot of like Peruvian pride and like Latino, you know, like he's like carrying the llama. He's like doing the whole thing, you know, like even for like school project, like he did like the
No, that was crazy.
the Peruvian flute. But it's just the language. Like I just feel like there's no sense of like, I don't know, ownership of him wanting to try to.
Yeah. Can we talk about some of the myths a little bit that you think go into bilingualism? Is that a word? Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think the biggest one, obviously, is that bilingualism causes speech delays, and that's false. Everyone, please, it's false, false, false. And I think that myth came from a child probably having a speech delay and also being bilingual, and people assuming that's the reason. But we know that if a child has a true speech and language delay, it's in both languages. So you can't just have it in Spanish and you can't just have it in English. It shows up across your languages. So there's a difference. And then some people have this idea that like the child will be delayed in speaking because 2 languages is too much for the brain. And it's false, because a lot of families, like you were saying, do one parent, 1 language, and the kid is learning both languages at the same time, and there are no delays, right? And so that myth is predominantly in the US, and I think honestly, it's created so that a lot of our communities don't speak Spanish to their child, because that's fear, right? Like who is going to choose to give their child their language if it's going to cause a delay? That's not a fear that other countries have around bilingualism. The US, unfortunately, is not super pro bilingualism. We're a very monolingual society, and our schools are very monolingual.
I am amazed at the ability that these children have, their brains. So for example, Ford will translate for the dad. Like he'll test him and he'll put like a Spanish novela. And he's like, oh, Ford, look, what are they saying? And like he'll like be like, okay, Dad, she's saying that like
she cheated on him.
Yeah, she's saying that she's really.
If it's a novela, like, I don't know.
He will like act it out, like put the emphasis exactly how it's supposed to be in his own English version. He'd be like, oh, Dad, she's really mad because he was late and she was supposed to like take her to dinner. Like it's so cute to see his brain have the ability to translate with so much ease for his dad, right? So he's obviously understanding it 100%. Now it's just getting him to like feel comfortable. So now I feel like he's old enough where he's also like subconscious about it.
You know, with my little brother, so with me, my parents only spoke Spanish when I was little, so there wasn't really a choice. But with my little brother, you know, he had an older sister, me, 12 years older, that like would speak English to him. And so he like didn't want to speak Spanish. So similar to Ford, he understood all of it. He knew what everything meant, could keep up with conversations, could potentially translate if you asked him to. But he wouldn't speak it until I think he was maybe 6 or 7. My mom took him to Peru for a month and forced him. And she was like, if you don't speak Spanish here, like, that's a morir de hambre.
We need to do that.
Yeah. And when in that month, like he como que se soltó. Like he was like, okay, I have no choice. And you know, he had to say it regardless if it came out good, if it came out bad, if it was like, you know, there's an accent, whatever or not, it doesn't matter. And of course, you always have cousins there who you can lean on to make fun of you.
Yeah, I'm gonna pack him up, ship him over.
No, you gotta go with it. But yeah,
that's part
like
of the kidnapping.
Yeah. She's like, actually, this goes into like 2 for 1. Do the fear and the language in just one heist.
He like take out the blindfold and you're like in another country. Okay. Yeah.
No, but I think that's called like that's called passive bilinguals. So there are a lot of kids in the US who are passive bilinguals who like understand fully what's being said but don't have maybe the confidence to them they're engaging in the conversation, so they resort to the language that they feel stronger in and gives them more confidence, which is English. And if we think about it, English is everywhere for the kids, so like why wouldn't they feel more attracted to it or more confident speaking English? And so the task is finding ways where they need to speak Spanish. Like there's no other option. And I think it's harder when you're bilingual as well, because they get to a place where they're like, Mom, but you do know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So like, why do I have to say it in Spanish? And yeah, and I think for me, what's been really helpful is to explain the why. Like, what is the purpose of speaking Spanish outside of our relationship? So in my family, my parents do not speak English. And my family functions in Spanish. Like my family in New York City, they function in Spanish. And so if my kids do not speak Spanish to me, so basically I'm who they practice with, but who they actually are speaking Spanish to in the future, or like when we see my family, is my mom. Like you will not have a relationship with abuela if you can't speak Spanish. She doesn't speak English. She's not going to learn English.
For example, my mom and my nanny also only speak, like my nanny does not speak any English whatsoever. So I'm like, okay, great, survival, right? You need to survive, like communicate with her, like when you're hungry, when you want to go
Pamela
play, when you want to do
is
stuff.
big into
like,
gentle parenting.
like he like kisses his way through, hugs his way through, like communicating with her. So it's been interesting to watch their dynamic and how close they are, because he was very little when she joined our family. He still was not going to school full time at that point, so it wasn't like, okay, he's in school all the day and then he comes to be with her. No, he was like most of the time with her. And he's still, I don't know. So what is the healthiest way, Diandra, to not force them, but to motivate them into utilizing or trying the language on their own?
Encourage.
Yeah, I think honestly, it really is just consistency. Like every time he said something to you in English, you just consistently continue to say it in Spanish, and it will click eventually. Forcing him, kidnapping him is not going to work.
Well,
So no to the heist?
Karen's mom is like, you know what I used to do? I'm like, okay, sure,
My mom
Gabby.
is very
She goes, I
extreme.
wouldn't feed them. If they wanted to eat, they'll be like,
She did that
dímelo
to
en
me.
español.
She did that to
O
me.
quieres comer, dímelo, ¿qué quieres comer?
Guys, let's continue to uncover all my
Okay.
traumas. She literally,
Okay.
so I was 4. Here we go. Here's trauma number 2.
He literally would break into the fridge.
I was
No, we don't
4.
recommend this.
I was 4 years old and I had started daycare, preschool, whatever. And I started learning English and I said, Mami, es que yo soy americana, because I have a little bit of blonde hair right here at the tip, summer. And she goes, oh yeah? Okay. And I go, yo no hablo español, no more Spanish. She goes, bueno, si quieres algo de comer, algo de tomar, me tienes que decir en español. And I'm like, but no, nada. She would not give me nothing, like literally, you don't eat, you don't drink unless you say it in Spanish. And I was a hungry girl, So, exhibit A, hablo español.
No, but we don't recommend these old, like, we don't recommend these old ways of doing things.
She's so graceful about it too. She's like,
"Listen,
so we don't
crazy
recommend
bitches."
this.
Yeah, like some parents will be like, "Oh, no sé lo que dices," or like, "We do
No te
know what to say,"
entiendo.
and
Like,
they
yeah,
know,
right.
they know we do, and we also don't want to pretend like we're not bilingual, either, right? But I think the best way is explaining your why. Like I have to, my kids have asked me, like, why do we have to speak Spanish, or why do we speak Spanish? And I say, that's the gift I'm giving to you. No one else can give it to you.
She's so graceful. I'm here like, you have to. Like, this is why we're mother-ish.
And I say,
Mother-bish.
it is the one thing. It's the one thing that like will make you stand out, and that it will. It's like one of the things that makes you you. Like you can't really get rid of it. Like you come from Spanish speakers, and you will continue to be a Spanish speaker.
Yeah.
And we just make those little connections. And I think that's been really helpful. Another thing that's been really helpful, and I think sometimes we forget, is like, these kids love TV, right? And they love their cartoons and their things. So our TV is in Spanish. All of our movies, everything is always in Spanish. And it's always interesting because even when we go to other kids' homes, like to visit their friends, they'll be like, "Oh, can you put that in Spanish?" And I was like, "Okay, no." In other people's homes, you cannot dictate their language, but in our home, yes. If your friend is over, even if they don't speak Spanish, they are watching the TV in Spanish because that's how we do. Like that's how we do it. So it's so ingrained in them. Like even when we go to the movie theater, they're like, "Oh, can they put it in Spanish because I want the movie?" And I was like, "No, it doesn't work like that. We paid for it to be in English." But at home, when it comes out, if you like it, we'll buy it, and then it usually has the Spanish version. And
By the way,
we'll
I attempted that as well, and I realized how when I was little, I grew up in Peru, so Full House, Tres por Tres, like all the shows that were, I guess exported to Peru.
Called?
Tres por Tres, yeah.
Full House was called Tres por Tres?
Yeah.
That's so weird.
It was weird because
why? Why is
Because
that
it was like
title?
3 girls with the 3 like adult
with the 3 boys.
Yeah,
Yeah, with the 3 adult guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really thought they spoke Spanish. Like in my little brain, I never got the idea of dubbing. Like this is dubbed, right?
Me neither.
And
I
now that
actually don't mind dub.
Now that I watch it,
I want to
as an
go into a
adult,
career
and that I
of
want to do it with,
acting.
that I do it for Ford. Ford's like, kiss? Like, what is this? Like, I feel like, I don't know if it's his reactions making me more aware of like how poorly dubbed it could be sometimes, or how forced it is when trying to act, because they're actors are acting that role in the language. It's funny. So I'll do that, and he's like cringing the whole time.
He's
He's
like,
like,
ick.
what is
It
this?
gives
Like,
me the ick.
no, I did Despicable Me.
Well,
So imagine it's like double accent, right? So it's like Gru trying to have a Gru accent, but in Spanish.
I love
It's
how
like,
you can also have like Latin American Spanish or like whatever.
Like Spain
yeah,
Spanish, yeah.
it's
Yes.
so cool. It's so fun.
Anyway, my friend Eileen, who's amazing with faking, like doing accents and imitating people, she has a talent for that. The other day, she was doing Gru, right, from Despicable Me, and like they go to the boys. Okay, who am I? So she was doing exactly like Gru, and they were like, "Abuela." And we forget sometimes how like heavy, our even my accent, like it's so for their ears, like they become more aware of it.
It's crazy.
I know.
Victoria thinks that she speaks 2 different types of Spanish
I love
because her dad is from Argentina and my background is Peruvian, and so we obviously our Spanish is very different. So she says, "Mommy, I speak English, Spanish, and Argentinian." Like she has it as 3, like as a separate language, which is crazy because like it's true. There's a whole series of it's a different dialect, and there's a whole series of words that are exclusive to them, and so like I don't know, strawberry, whatever. Like all these words that she's like, it's this, this, and this. But I mean, with me, like she has hit a wall where, like, I've been more conscious lately of speaking to her in Spanish again, because I did what you did, very, very strict until about age 4. And I don't know, it's me. It's something happened with me, and I just I fell off, and I got comfortable because she was speaking English too, and I was like, oh, cool, now we can be besties. Like, I don't know. And I completely I messed up. Whatever. I'm putting it out there. It happened.
You changed
to me.
the dynamic.
I changed the dynamic, and so now I'm trying to proactively, at least at home, because we do videos on we do some videos sometimes for my Instagram or whatever, and that's all in English. But at home, I try to be more proactive about speaking Spanish to her, and she looks at me like, whatever, and I'm like, no. Why? And I told you the other day, she was like, "Mami, es que tu español is not that good." And I'm like, what? And that's not true.
Why don't we do some tips, okay? We want to start today. It's never too late. Okay, I'm committed.
It's never too late.
I'm going to do this. What's the first thing you recommend parents to do?
The first thing I recommend is to talk to your children and be honest and be like, I was today doing my podcast and I was chatting with someone. Her name is Diandra, and she was talking about how important it is, and I want to try some things that she suggested. Literally tell your kids about your day, and talk to me and that this is kind of like my area of expertise. But I would start there, just being honest. Like, I really want to speak Spanish to you. It's very important to me. I want you to know that side of mommy. Like, I always tell people, if you don't know my Spanish side, you don't know me. Like, there is a special side of speaking Spanish that you just like it's a different sazon. Like, I don't know, I think about Bad Bunny. Like, that's just like it's just like,
how could you live your life and like not get it,
and
like,
and I always tell my kids, I want you to know my full self, and I want you to be your full self. And that is part of it. Like, it's being able to have a relationship in Spanish. Like, with my siblings, I have a relationship in both languages. And that's what I one day strive to have with my kids. Like, one day we will speak English to each other, probably. I won't have them tell me every story in Spanish. I'll be like, oh, tell me what happened. And it'll probably be in English. But for right now, I want to preserve that Spanish connection that we have. So I would start there. Like, I want to build a Spanish connection with you. And that means that this is what I'm going to do. So that's number one, tell them. And then the second thing that I like to do, I don't know if you guys do bedtime and read to your kids every night. So I read books in Spanish. And so
we do that.
And so then we like process them. But I would do like go on like one-on-one dates without like sometimes now, since my husband speaks English too, I'll do more one-on-one time with the kids so that they have to be in a Spanish-only environment and not in a necessarily bilingual environment. So find Spanish-only environments where go to a restaurant where you have to order in Spanish and then have the whole conversation in Spanish. Go, I don't know, go to the farmer's market and do that. Find a family that wants to only speak Spanish and show your kid that you can just stay in Spanish. Because a lot of times I notice, even for me, my kids are seeing me be bilingual all the time. So sometimes it's confusing. Like, why can I be bilingual all the time too?
Yeah.
Why do I only have to be, because technically we're asking them to be monolingual Spanish when we're asking them to only speak Spanish.
Yeah.
And so find time that they can just be in Spanish and stay in Spanish, and then that they see you do the same.
Okay. That's great. You know that I'm not allowed to read books. We switched now. So I used to read books to her every night before going to bed. And now she's like, no, mama, you have to tell me a story. You have to come up with a story. Girl, the amount of effort that it takes every night, it's so much. And so now I like have involved her in the process. So I'm like, okay, what animal do you want it to be about? Like a squirrel. Okay. Literally the other night I made up a story about a squirrel named Earl. Like, I want a little credit for the level of creativity and work that I put into when I am exhausted at night and I have to come up with a story. And then she's always like, they're too short. I'm like, no puedo.
They always want the most involved stories at bedtime.
Yes. And one time I even was like, look, mommy, ChatGPT is going to tell us the story today. She goes, ChatGPT's stories are terrible. I'm like, okay.
By the way, one of the moms actually yesterday had a pool play date. She says that now she has, like, if she's in a rush or she's running late, she'll have Alexa read like a book to the child. She'll be like, Alexa, can you please read, whatever.
Yeah. But it's not as nice as like, ChatGPT is much more personal and like, sorry, I know all this is my obsession lately, but like, I just feel like Alexa will straight up read a book, but like ChatGPT will be like, hey, Victoria, I'm going to read you this. How about I tell you this story about blah, blah, blah. And you can actually prompt ChatGPT. Like, let's say that there's like a hot topic. Let's say that we want to talk about the importance of being bilingual. You can literally prompt ChatGPT to be like, hey, can you help craft a story for my 6-year-old child that is going to explain the importance of being bilingual and make sure that there's a squirrel in the story or whatever. And it will literally make a story for you.
I know. I still like
There's a couple books you can, have you ever read Mango, Abuela, and Me?
Yes, I have. Yes,
that's a good one. I've read my kids that book so that they can see, like, see what happens. Like, the little girl couldn't speak to their grandma. Like,
I'm gonna Mango,
and I was
Abuela,
like, that's
and
so
Me.
sad. And they're like, oh, that's so sad. She can't she can't tell her stories, and like she can't read her books, and then now they have to figure out like how to communicate. And so that one, there's also the Yellow Handkerchief that talks about a little girl who's like embarrassed about Spanish. Her grandma's in town and she's feeling embarrassed, and then Eventually the grandma leaves and all she wants is for the grandma to come back, and she like forgot her handkerchief, and it's very cute, and it makes you think
Okay.
about like, oh my God, like someday my grandma's gonna be gone and this language is going to be gone. And it was just so good.
That's a lot. That's a lot. Yeah.
I don't know
It's
if I
a
can read
little
that
heavy,
book.
but we process
We
it.
like
And
heavy.
then
We like
I
heavy.
don't. I
We can
don't.
handle
Victoria
it.
gets very emotional.
Oh, she is very
She's super emotional. So yesterday. So I'm thinking about taking her to the Shakira concert next week. Okay, this is what I'm thinking
that's
about
so
doing.
fun.
So I was like, "Do you know Shakira songs?" And she was like, "Oh yeah." So she goes, "Mami, soltera," and I'm like, "No, not that song." I'm like, not that song. So then I was like, no, let's go back to like I started playing the Shakira Unplugged album, which
So
is my
good.
favorite.
That's what I
My
love.
favorite.
Ciega, sorda, muda. Yeah.
Yes. So I was like playing all these songs and like I know all the lyrics. They're all here, like whatever. So I'm like singing it, whatever. And so I think it was like Sombra de Ti or something like that. And I'm singing it and she goes, Mommy, I just changed the song. She was crying and I'm like, oh God.
Yeah, but
And
also Shakira is deep. Like,
I know, but like every kind of sad song, she refuses. She refuses to do it. And I'm like, Mommy, but it's beautiful. Pain is beautiful. She's like, no, Mom, you crazy.
Yeah.
Like, so maybe
Our
too
kids
much.
are more emotionally attuned than we were at their age.
I know, which
Yeah.
is so cute. I know. It's
amazing.
Yeah, because we
went into
nurture.
this like Up.
Yeah.
He was obsessed with Up. You know,
I've never seen the movie. I can't watch it. I don't want to watch it. I don't
No,
want to watch
it's-
it. No. Lilo and Stitch, I sobbed. And now on Instagram, I'm getting all these reels of like different like clips from the movie. And I'm like, skip it because like there was one, sorry, I can't. There's one of like when, okay, I don't want to spoil the movie, but like
Isn't
there's
it
a
the same
scene.
as the cartoons?
No,
No?
they changed some stuff. They changed some stuff. My brother was very upset about this, by the way. But there's like a scene where like, oh, this is what Stitch was doing, and he was calling through the dance and the movement or whatever. And I was like, and then I wonder why my kid is like this. Like I'm
It's so
also
funny how
like,
different. So then I asked my mom because you had just gone. You told me you sobbing the whole movie and like Victoria had cried. So I asked my mom. I booked my mom, a movie date with my son to go watch like a 1 p.m. in the middle of the day. They're on vacation. He's on vacation. I was like, how was it? He's like, oh, I was cracking up the whole time. He laughed so much. So I go, hey, Forrest, how was the movie? He's like, oh, so funny, like squirting the water and like doing all these like
it's funny.
travesuras.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, but it's funny how like
Yeah, it's funny. The
I'm
thing
like,
is that it
did you
hit
crack?
topics
I'm
that
like-
were really big
current
for
and
us
present,
right
right.
now. Yeah. So yeah, it was good.
Oh, okay. I'll have to watch it.
It's so
now
cute.
to mentally prepare. My kids are very also emotionally attuned. So like,
Yeah.
even like Lion King is like.
I
Rex.
mean, hello,
I
it's
know.
rough.
They're like
It's
the
rough.
daddy, and I was like, "Is the
Yeah.
daddy coming back?" I'm like, "The daddy is gone."
No, yeah.
No.
So Lilo and Stitch has some, there's the topic of
Yeah.
death. There's there's like near death experiences and stuff, and those scenes are a little bit extended.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, I think it's beautiful.
Anyway.
I think it's really great, and it could potentially prompt conversations that are healthy, but definitely go prepared.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
for that.
where could people find you? They want more information. If they like want to, seek some advice or anything.
Yes. Well, you can find me on Instagram, Bilingual Playdate. I do have a TikTok, but I never really post on it. But Bilingual Playdate, I also have, if you go through my Instagram, you can get to my website. I do have a newsletter, and so I send out tips. I have free resources. I have social emotional learning resources in Spanish that people can have access to, because that's one of the things. Like, our kids are very emotionally attuned, and a lot of times we're only nurturing that in English because that's what they have access to. And we're not always doing that in Spanish as well. So I have resources that help you kind of do both. But I think the best thing that I could tell people about bilingualism is that this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Like, this is for the long haul. And so if we're expecting our kid to tomorrow speak Spanish to us and only Spanish to us and never challenge us around that, we're setting ourselves up. That's not a realistic expectation. They're going to have questions. They're going to notice that their family dynamic might not be the same as other people's family dynamic and want to know why. And they're going to need to be reminded about the why. Like, why are we doing this?
That's awesome. Thank you so much. This was such a great conversation. Thank you for coming on our podcast.
No, thank you. Anytime. It was a great conversation. It was so nice to meet you guys. And I think your podcast is so great. So
and
thank
we
you so
won't
much.
be doing a
you.
kidnapping for the
Yeah,
record. We just
And I strongly, as a licensed clinical social worker, do not recommend kidnapping your child or instilling
right.
fear
We're
or
so savage saying this in front of her.
bringing
This is a
them
safe
anywhere
space.
internationally and leaving
No
them.
judging, safe space, you
This is a
know.
safe space. We listen and we don't judge.
But we do.
But we do all the time. Which, by the way, being bilingual was the one thing I used to judge so much before because, again, my sister and I both, I realized the other day that my family chat between my sister, my mother, and I, it's in Spanish.
Really?
Like the whole thing,
Oh,
yeah.
I
We
love
text
that.
right in Spanish. Like, we just assume, like, you know, and I've shared this story before where, like, I didn't realize my mom spoke some English until I was, like, an adult, I think.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's cute. So
Our
I
family
used to judge,
chat.
and now, you know.
Our family chat is my mom's and my dad speaking in Spanish, like typing in Spanish, and my brother and I respond in English. It's wild. Like,
Yeah. Maybe
yeah.
your challenge is going to be to do it in Spanish back.
I can do it. I could like so to help support my to counter my daughter's impression of my Spanish. I actually minored in Spanish language in college, and I made it a point to be able to speak and write professionally. It was like a huge deal for me because I was all about like my career and it's important and blah 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 blah. So, and I have always, my entire career has been layered with Spanish as a priority. So I'm pretty strict on it with my career
and with yourself.
and with myself, but like I don't know, something happened with my kid. I think I was just so, I think maybe I went so hard on so many other topics of like raising a child that this one I was like, okay, I'm gonna cut myself some slack here, which is crazy. I should really just not care about the other ones and only focus on this one, which I will now. I'm gonna have a conversation and be like, hey, Victoria, I spoke to Diandra.
Yeah.
So yeah, but thank you. This was great.
Thank you,
Thank
Diandra.
you.
Good
I
to
hope you
meet
guys have a good rest of your day.
Thanks,
you.
you too. Take care.